Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Merci, Madame Chambon, Monsieur Corme, pour votre invitation. I'm very happy here, and I also have some slides to help you, but to help me to give you a short speech. I think I have 10-15 minutes. So I would like to start with the centrality of cities in this such challenge moment that we are living. And I think that cities are historically real centers of cultural, political, and economic exchange. When we are talking about Europe, what we are thinking, what is the culture of Europe, the identity of Europe? If we think about languages, for example, no? The English was made in London, and Italian in Florence, Dante Alighiero, Cervantes in Madrid. The culture, the roots of culture in Europe are roots coming from cities. The history of Europe, it's not a national history. It's not a history of nations. It's a history of cities. That's why I think cities are the oldest realities that can do the most modern things. Because as Gagnola already said, in the cities, we have a real laboratories for innovation, for sustainability, for digital transition. And if we are thinking about the biggest challenge that we are facing, we can find solutions in the cities. So I mean, in cities, we can find both problems and solutions. I would like to give you an example. European cities produce 8% of pollution, carbon emissions. European cities produce 80% of waste, and they absorb 80% of energy available in the continent. So in the cities, we have the biggest conflicts, social conflicts with migrations, social inclusion challenges, but in the cities, we can find solutions because cities are modern contemporary laboratories. And the challenge that we have now is how we can enhance, reinforce the rule of cities in the world, but especially in Europe, the reality that I know well. As president of Eurocities for 2.5 years, I had very big opportunities to visit many cities, to meet many mayors, and I believe that we have to reinforce the multi-level governance in European Union, but also in general, also in the United States, for example. The problem is cities are pioneers in reality for social inclusion, for climate change solutions, for urban regeneration, but they are followers for legislations. In my experience as mayor of Florence for 10 years, I learned that I don't have a power to introduce new laws. For example, in urban security. Everybody thinks that the responsibility for urban security is of mayors, but it's not. In many European countries, the responsibility for urban security is a state competence. But it's only an example. So the question is how we can combine, integrate decision-making process from local to the central. We need a bottom-up process for decision-making procedure. also to involve citizens. Because as you know, now we are living a very crucial democratic crisis in Europe, in the United States, many other places. So 70% of the decisions that, of actions that mayor has to do are coming from European Union legislation. So we have to invest on city-to-city cooperation, creating a stronger and stronger network, because the energy coming from cities network is much more efficient than national cooperation energies. And we have to invest on city-to-city diplomacy. Because, you know, states have such a rigid system also to make decisions. Cities are much more flexible, smart. They can act very quickly. And if you get cities all together, not only at continent level, but also intercontinental. I have been in Japan, in Tokyo yesterday, and I had some meeting with local leaders there. If we invest also on the global cities network, we can share many projects, values, and innovation. And urban leadership is essential to multi-level governance and EU integration. That's why, for example, we need more tools at European level, both in European Commission and European Parliament. For example, do you know that we don't have in European Parliament a committee in charge for cities? We have a REGI committee, environment committee, PESH committee, whatever you want. But we don't have a committee in the Parliament in charge to support cities in Europe, to collaborate with the local governments. Why? And the same in European Commission. So we have to create new models based on the collaboration at multi-level governance, local and global. This is very important because if we want to achieve long-term and efficient results in our commitment, especially in green transition and digital transition, we must have on board cities, mayors. That's why I would like to talk about mayors. Mayors represent proximity, trust, pragmatic leadership, isn't it? If you ask to the people, in which politician do you believe, do you trust? So, in the general, the situation for politicians is not very, not strong. But on the ground, at local level, the relation between people, citizens, and local leaders, mayors, are stronger than at national level. And also at international level, we can see how important is the crisis of international organizations. Unfortunately, I would say United Nations, World Trade Organization, World Health Organization. So in a very challenging moment in which we have a lot of problems with international organization, in a moment when the states are in a continual conflict, in which reality we can believe? We can invest energy, we can invest passion, we can invest time at the local level in the cities. That's why I think, as investors, I would tell you, you have to trust in the local leaders, because they are pragmatic, they have values, they can, obviously, in the city, you have a strong value. When you are mayor, I learned from my friend, who is now in jail, unfortunately, the mayor of Istanbul. Unfortunately, it's a very sad story, because it's absolutely illegal action made by President of Turkey. I'm sorry, I'm saying that. He's in jail without any kind of responsibility. The most important city in the European continent, Mediterranean, Istanbul, with 20 million people. And let's see how Istanbul is transforming in a very modern and smart city. Okay, one time, Ekrem İmamoğlu said to me, we mayors are not only local administrators, public administrators, we are political leaders. Indeed, we have many national and international leaders coming from local experience, mayor of important capitals and cities. That's why we have to trust to believe in the mayors. We have to defend the mayors, because at local level, you can enhance democracy, you can involve citizens, you can have local community on board with a real democratic participation. And if you believe, if you invest energy in relations with local governments, I think in such critical moment, you can deliver a new urban humanism. Sorry, I'm coming from Florence, where we had experience of Renaissance humanism with Machiavelli, Michelangelo, Brunelleschi, Leonardo da Vinci. And is it possible a new humanism today? I think yes. Obviously, a new humanism, not a copy of the past. For example, a digital humanism, where people remain protagonists, where technologies are instruments, tools in the hands of people, and not the contrary, the opposite. And urban policies should be value-driving, inclusion, sustainability, and identity. And about identity, I would say, all cities in the world have different identities, multi-level identities. In Rome, you have several different identities. Roman Empire, Middle Age, modern period, in London as well, and in Paris, and in Athens, classical period, etc. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years experience. You can't have only one identity in a city. Indeed, we don't have a monocultural city. In all cities in the world, you have different languages, different cultures, different histories integrated. And this is another very important value that you have at the base of all kinds of projects that you want to deliver. So when you have a project for a city, I think you must know the plural identity of the city. That's why all the projects about virtual or very modern cities, for the moment, are not success. Let's see, for example, in India, Amaravati. Indian governments 20 years ago launched this project about this very modern city with €1 billion investments in the totally empty space, and is a flop. Let's think about Brasilia. Brasilia was made as a very modern, contemporary project. Looking at future, we have to build a new city in zero space, but it's not one of the most interesting cities in the world. Or Vauban City in Japan, another city launched by a famous automotive industry. Or also, if we want to talk about NEOM, line project, is it a success? I think no. Very very expensive. But why, when you want to launch a new city in the desert, it's not a success? Because you don't have history, you don't have identity. So the real secret for the city is transformation, regeneration. Now, the topic of your debate, how to refurbish buildings, how to regenerate places, how to keep histories with modernity, how to transform quarters, urban areas. This is the real challenge, because you can't move, you can't transfer cities. It's impossible. And I think this is the real and the very nice, exciting challenge we have. So, empowering urban policies, strengthen funding instruments tailored to urban development. When you are talking about a project, transformation, refurbishment project in the city, you must have clear the identity of the city, the history of the city, no? And the horizons towards cities going. Promote integrated planning, housing, mobility, green transition. I had in Italy some very negative experience. So when I had the opportunity to meet some investors from football sector. So, okay, I have a big project for the stadium, a very modern stadium, a sustainable stadium, 100% sustainable, okay. And the rest? Where do you want to put this stadium? What's your project for the railway, for the public transports, for the green spaces? What is the study that you did when you are projecting a new stadium in a city? The connections. So in my experience, I met many investors with only a vertical vision. So I have this project, an hospital, okay, the hospital, I have a wonderful architect, an unbelievable project. Okay, the hospital, where you are putting this project? What is your reflection? What is the strategy that you have to achieve this final goal? So the integration with housing, mobility, green spaces, social framework is fundamental when you have a project for a city. And support capacity building for city administrations. This is another task. In my experience, I tried to attract investments. In Florence, we had the 3.5 billion euros investments from both public and private in 10 years in a small cities, because Florence is 400,000 inhabitants. We delivered an office fully dedicated to big projects investors. Why? To support the big investors, to have high-level experience support, and also to achieve the objectives in a clear, transparent, and fast way. That's why I think the PPP, public-private partnership, that you know very well, is essential in the future of urban transformation. Synergy in goals, because both public and private sectors pursue the public interest. When a private investor is projecting and realizing an hospital, and sports infrastructure, a garden, he is pursuing a public interest. And public and private should work together for a public strategy, sharing the same values. And we need public funding as a leverage on private investments. This is very important at a European center, at European level. And I will tell you some very shortly about it. And third point, simplification of rules and procedures. So if you want to guarantee a real control, democratic control from people, you must be simple and transparent. Because when you have simple and transparent procedures, citizens can control you. But when procedures are very tough, very complicated, with a heavy bureaucracy, citizens can't control you because they don't know what are you doing. And with the simplification of rules and procedures, you can have a better PPP model. finally, the cohesion policy and urban context. I would like to conclude with a very short reflection about the situation at European level that we are facing now, because we are discussing European Parliament and Commission the new multi-financial framework, starting from 2027. The friends of Catalonia knows very well. And dear friends, now we have a huge risk. I would like to be very clear with you. You know that the tool that European Union use to invest on cities, on regions, is cohesion policy pillar. Is one of the most important pillar of European Union. I would say of European identity, of European integration. Is 1/3 of a total European budget, 2021, 2027, 392 billion euros. So the risk is that European Commission is working to transform radically the budget, to have only one fund, national fund, centralized funds, to have a bilateral negotiation with the states, deleting all the traditional pillars of European policy, like cohesion policy and agriculture policy, which is another 1/3 of a European budget. What is the risk? The risk is that you renounce to European strategy of urban agenda, European strategy of urban development. So, and this is a very big risk, especially now, when the national states want more money and flexibility to invest on what? On cities? Not. On army, on military defense. This is the real political challenge that we have in Brussels in these weeks. That's why I think we absolutely can't renounce to European cohesion policy to invest on military defense. If you want to invest on defense, on European defense, let's use the Draghi report about European common debt, if you need investments. And I believe in the idea of Draghi about Eurobond, because as you know, the financial situation of European Union is very strong, much better than American economy, in terms of public debt, for example, in terms of inflation, in terms of private investments. So we can exploit public debt to invest on strategic infrastructure like defense, and then we have to enhance European budget to invest on local, on the ground, on local governments, working with private investors, with a huge and modern investments funds, 800 billion euros for 10 years. This is what we need, as Draghi report said. That's why we must be careful about the new decision that European Commission is taking. That's why I hope that European Parliament, representing also regions and cities, could represent an alternative, another voice, different from European Commission. That's why we have to enhance, not reduce, investments on urban economy, because if urban economy is growing, so global economy will have positive effect. And to conclude, I'm sorry if I exploit too much time. I would like to have a very short summary. So strengthen the urban dimension in European policies. And we can adopt the same model in other realities like United States, like Asia, for example. Let's think about China. So promote decentralized cooperation and empower mayors as interlocutors for you, for private investors, for institutional investors. Invest in cities as the engine of Europe's new humanism, because we need culture. Without culture, you don't have any kind of investments. I remember a meeting in Shanghai with the CEO of Fosun, very big investor. And he showed me a huge project of a new quarter in Shanghai. And he told me, so please, could you transfer some artworks from Uffizi Gallery in my quarter, in my new quarter in Shanghai? And I told him, why? He told me, the number one of Fosun, I don't know if he's still number one, maybe not. But anyway, he told me, because I need culture, I need values. If I don't have something very important, like something from Italy, from gallery, Uffizi Gallery, so my project is not such important and valuable as I want. We need culture. Let's see, for example, Spanish city Bilbao, the transformation of Bilbao from industrial city to international cultural city, thanks to modern art museum. Let's see to Hamburg Harbor, Hamburg waterfront. Let's see the new opera theater in Hamburg. How important is the heart of a new modern transformation, refurbishment, or very industrial harbor to a new, modern, dynamic, vibrant part of the city. Let's think to Torino, the city of a Fiat, famous industrial city. Torino, thanks to the Olimpiadi, Winter Olympiadi 20 years ago, and thanks to culture, now is a real vibrant city. So culture is one of the keys that you can use to give a value to refurbishment projects, to transformation in a city. Then, that's why we have to use city for new humanism. And to conclude, really, reinforce public-private partnership, as I said, and foster truly the smart cities beyond technology towards inclusive innovation, because all of us, we talk about smart cities, but what is the real meaning of smart? Smart needs to have values, social values, very strong projects for long-term sustainable projects for a new identity, plural identity, because this is the spirit of the cities. Thank you very much.